This is your next lab program. In this question they have asked to plot a graph versus some bacterial reaction. A population of bacteria initially is 1000 in the certain media, and this is the data given, and they have asked you to calculate at certain time what will be the population, where t is my time, and the formula here is given here. With respect to this formula, we have to calculate the population at certain time t, where t will be changing and t will be in hours. So we have to plot a graph, population of bacteria versus certain time. We have to specify the intervals. Intervals we have to dynamically read into your program. That is the question mentioned. I'm using Matplotlib. Matplotlib is an inbuilt library to plot your graphs in Python, and pyplot is a method within a Matplotlib package for plotting my graphs, x-axis, y-axis, and drawing it may be bar graph and all. For that we will be using this method. And plt is a variable I am using instead of this as an argument. Every time I cannot type pyplot in my program, it is little lengthy, so I'll be using instead of that plt. It's not compulsory to use plt itself. You can use any variable name, but it should be an valid variable. So I'm taking an empty list. T is my list to store my time intervals, and P is the another list. It is an empty list to store my number of bacterias with respect to time, as we did in your previous lab programs. And then E, initially the value of E is 1000, that I am being entered. Then I am reading my intervals, how many intervals we need. For example, for 5 intervals or for 6 intervals or for 10 intervals, like that. So I'll be reading for number of intervals, and I'll be storing in this variable. It should be an int. You cannot give in point something like that, so it should be exactly intervals. And size of each intervals, whether you want your intervals for 2 or for 4, 5, like that. What should be the size of each interval? That is the interval size. Now I am calculating the value of P from this value T, from 0 to interval. How many intervals we have given? 2 intervals, from 0 to 8. If we have mentioned 8 intervals, so it will be taking from 0 to 8 intervals. I am storing my time I into intervals into size. Then I am appending it into time. This one I am appending into the list T. Append is a method used to append the list. I am calculating the size. For example, 0, 0 to 0, 0 to 1, 0 to 2. So it will be calculated and the value will be stored here. Then after that I am calculating the population with respect to the formula given. This is the initial what was given. You can directly put E or 1000. I am inserting the value directly here. 1000 was the initial population of the bacteria in the reaction. So this is the, and Ti is the time interval in present for loop. For example, if it is 5, what will be the value for 5, and that will be stored in PO, and that value will be appended again in this list. And then I'm not printing any values of T and P here as we did in the previous program. I'll directly be plotting. Plot T versus P, X versus Y axis, and my plot will be in green color. And I'm adding the title for my graph, and I'm labeling my X axis and Y axis, where X will be time and Y will be my population. And I am showing my graph. Show is the method used to display our graph. So let us see how our program will be executed. I am storing my program in file called as g12.py. It will be asking number of intervals, how many intervals you want. I will give it as 8 for 8 intervals. Now what is the size of each interval? So let it be around 2. See, a graph appears. I had given red color maybe, so it has been appeared in the red color. like this. This is the time. See, x-axis is time and y-axis is my population, and this is the title of the graph what we have added. See, when you move your cursor on your graph anywhere else like this, the values x and y axis will be changing. The present pointing coordinates will be mentioned, x axis and y axis. What is the value of t and what is the value of p? X is nothing but t and y is nothing but my p. That will be just displaying there. Based on that values, you can give the report of that graph. This is all about your